Well, this is turning out to be a bit of a bummer. I saw some lightning cracking off in the distance. I'm headed westbound right now, dragging an empty trailer. And look at that gnarly thing up there in front of me. And my Garmin started freaking out. My watch, all my notifications were hitting my watch. Everything's telling me severe this, severe that. So I'm kind of in a holding pattern right now. I ain't trying to drag an empty trailer through that. All right, guys, Eric here, Driveline World's OK steering wheel holder. In the last video, talked about my hour situation. Still not great, but it's better than it was yesterday. Definitely better than it was yesterday. That 1 hour left on my 70 was just asinine. But I did get my recaps dumped on me, or my recap rather. So thank God for that. Because I got a little room to breathe today, which I say today, but it is 1:35 in the morning on Thursday morning. And I've been so hyper focused on all the weather that's coming Friday and Saturday across, Arkansas, Tennessee, Alabama, Louisiana, all that good stuff, Mississippi, that I failed to really pay that much attention to potential weather tonight, which is Wednesday night, Thursday morning. And that kind of bit me in the ass a little bit. I did see that there was potential for some thunderstorms, scattered thunderstorms yesterday morning when I was doing some trip planning, but I just didn't check it a few hours ago when I rolled out, and I was heading face first into a pretty big set of cells. In fact, right now everything's saying it's dropping a lot of hail, and there's not just a small little hail core. It's dropping a lot of hail like across the whole storm, and it doesn't look like it's going to be completely across 40 until probably for another little over an hour. And when it does finish crossing 40, it'll finish crossing 40 about, like I can see lightning ahead of me right now. About 20 miles ahead of me. So really, I got to sit here and burn time for like an hour, which is such a buzzkill, because I was like, I had this whole plan of I want to get to Petro in Little Rock, get the truck washed, get the trailer washed out. I could have done that in West Memphis, and I should have, because that would have burned all the time that I needed to burn, and would have got all that stuff done, and the storm would have, been cleared out. So learn from my mistake. Some of you are going to be like, well, that's a rookie mistake. Yeah, it was. Some of you are going to be like, well, I really should think about stuff like that. Hopefully you can learn from my mistake. I could have planned this a little bit better. If I would have looked to see that this was going to cross the interstate about the time that I was coming, that I would be there, I would have gone and gotten fuel at Petro in West Memphis and gone to the Blue Beacon to deal with all that, and I would have burned enough time. I just didn't want, I hate going to that Petro, and I hate going to that Blue Beacon in West Memphis. So for me, it was like, well, fuel is the same price in North Little Rock. It's off by 1 cent. So I could just blast through Memphis and not have to deal with any of that West Memphis stuff. Well, it turns out that would have been the more strategic move to make. It would have been the more strategically wise move to make. And so now it's a hurry up and slow down. Because the thing is, my 01 my appointment is not until like 11 a.m. Thursday. But they open at 7, and it's a drop and hook. It's possible to be ready. I know this shipper. It's also possible they could be like, hey, if you want to go ahead and get live loaded, we could, pre-cool your trailer and we can take care of you. I'm good for that right now because my plan is just to get the hell out and start headed back to the Northeast to get away from these potentially 80, 90. I saw someone showing something. It could be upwards of a potentially 100-mile-per-hour gust. I don't know if those 100-mile-per-hour gusts are going to get all the way into Arkansas. Possibly. I think that's Friday. But it's going to be some gnarly wind on Friday. And then that's going to turn into pretty severe weather and storms, possibly tornadoes going into Tennessee Friday night, which for a lot of you who will be getting this video Friday morning, that would be tonight. So I'm trying to get out ahead of this whole thing. And so, I had this whole ambitious plan in my head of leaving last night to get the truck washed, get a washout, get fuel, get over to that shipper the minute they open, see if I can load and get going, and just brakes. I ain't trying to drag an empty trailer into this severe weather up ahead of me. Longtime subscribers know I don't really have much of an issue with snow. Snow doesn't really bother me that much. I'm not trying to puff my chest up and be a super truck or anything. I'm just saying that, like, if I had to pick the thing that concerns me the most, it would be wind. I don't do wind. I'm just a little bit of a pansy when it comes to wind. It just is what it is. And especially empty. So when it's saying there's this shit up ahead with wind and hail, I ain't rolling right into that dragging an empty trailer. Not of interest to me. So I could have left later. Or better yet, I should have went and got the truck wash and all that stuff done in West Memphis. Speaking of Petros and TAs, you Prime drivers, do you guys notice that Petro and TA is really flexing its muscle, man? The last week or so, like they're really moving in on Love's share of our business, I think, because it's always been the case for me in the past that if TA Petro was only like 3 or 4 cents less, I'm gonna go to Love's. But these last few, I would say probably last week for me, TA Petro has been like 20 cents less. Like it's significantly less. I think the option, TA Petro, both West Memphis and North Little Rock are 20 cents less than the cheapest Loves on that whole path. So I don't know what's going on with TA Petro, but they're really making a move, because that right there, that's where I start going, okay, I'm fueling at TA Petro. There's not even a question about it, especially when I need to get like 100 gallons of fuel. There's no question about it. When it goes from the difference of like $1 or $2 for a fill up to a difference of $20, yeah, I'm going to TA Petro. So that's what I'll be up to. One other thing that I want to note is that right now there's a lot of new people coming to Prime. I've probably interacted with 10 or 15 drivers in the last 48 hours that are actively either going to Prime this weekend or going to Prime for orientation within the next month. So there's a lot of new drivers coming to Prime, and that's probably going to dictate the way that I start making some of my content over the next month or two. Just because, for the last year or two, hiring has been so much down, or at least it seemed that way. And it seems like it's really ramping up. It seems like they're really kind of ramping things up, getting ready for the summer season. I hope that means Prime sees some things with its contracts and the freight network that is, provoking them to prep up the capacity and make sure that we can service those contracts. But I really want to, do some things to help contribute to content that's kind of geared a little bit also to those of you who are brand new and coming into the game, you know what I mean? But what I'm experiencing right now, you better be ready for it, because this is the kind of shit you're gonna deal with on the regular. And I would dare say that this past really 3 months has been the most unpredictable, difficult to navigate weather season that I think I've experienced since I've been in trucking. Because traditionally, and I'm not saying it's the worst, there's been way worse. Like, if you guys remember the freeze storm that happened a few years ago, that was Texas to Minnesota. Jenna was still on the truck. We were still a team truck. I mean, our dog water bowl froze on the floor of the truck. It was insane. So I've experienced worse stuff, but what makes this last few months, at least for me, maybe not for all of you, you may have been lucky, maybe some of you run West Coast, so you deal with something different, but at least for me, I would tell you this has been the most difficult few months of just constantly trying to navigate weather. There's just no rhyme or reason for it. You can't say, well, I'll stay southeast. You can't say, it's coming. And it's a full-on assault on everything. Everything east of, really Denver. And I know Northwest and the West has its share of issues, but I think a lot of that stuff probably is a lot more traditional winter-wise. But everything east of Denver, it's a full-on assault, and you might get 2 or 3 good days and you'll be like, oh, this is great, and then all of a sudden there's something coming across that just has its tentacles attacking every part of the Midwest, the Northeast, and the Southeast. So it's just been constantly having to stay on your toes and be aware of what's coming well ahead of time. And you can't really get yourself out of the way of it. You just try to stay out ahead of it, or try to time everything to where you're somewhere where you can be parked, or, it's just, I feel like the last few months, having weather integrated into my trip planning has been a much higher demand than it has in previous years. That's what I feel like. And again, I'm not saying that it's not been a part of it for the 5 years prior. It has. It's just much more consistently a vital part of trip planning now than it seems to have been in the past. It seems to be in the past you'd get a couple bad weeks, then you get a couple really good weeks, and you get a couple bad weeks, a couple really good weeks. It ain't like that this year. So, anyway, I'd love to. Are you guys experiencing the same thing? Let me know in the comments. I did put a video up for the members of the channel. If you don't know, you can become a member of the channel. It's $2 a month. And all these videos you're watching, they'll generally get them earlier. And I make content exclusively for members. And also, there's some behind the scenes stuff that's going to be coming for members as well. So I did make a video for you guys. If you're a member of the channel, which I think there's about 35 of you, there's a video up for you guys. That's only for you guys. So, all right, that's it for now. Be safe, make good decisions, always drive, thrive. Talk to y'all soon.